Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. We're looking at Psalm 132, a longer psalm here in the Ascent Songs. Actually, this is the 13th of the 15 Ascent Songs, the Pilgrim Psalms, the psalms that the people would sing as they would go up to Jerusalem to worship on their feast days. And some people believe, like Spurgeon, that 15 steps up to the temple, and each step there was one of these psalms that were sung or repeated or recited in worship and just coming into the presence of the Lord. And it's so important that we understand the importance of the presence of the Lord in our lives that are evident by his hand of blessing, his face shining upon us. And I think as I read through this psalm, that's what the psalmist is seeking here. Now, we're not sure who wrote this psalm because the title doesn't tell us, but I always got the impression when I was reading this psalm, the very first verse, Lord, remember David and all his affliction. And for some reason, I took that to mean David was writing this psalm and he was asking God to remember him in all his affliction, and he was calling himself by David. But that's not what it means. We believe this psalm probably was written by Solomon, David's son, who followed him as the king, who had the opportunity to build the temple and see the glory of God come down in that temple when the Ark of the Covenant was put in its place and the people worshiped. And so you can actually compare some of this psalm to a prayer of Solomon when he dedicated the temple in 2nd Chronicles chapter 6 verses 41 and 42. And so we see that this is a psalm that is just seeking God's presence. Matter of fact, the first 10 verses we find that the psalmist, which we believe probably is Solomon, is asking God to remember David and David's desire for a temple to be built there in Jerusalem, and a place that God in his Ark of the Covenant that represented his presence and was his presence in the midst of the people would be there in Jerusalem, a resting place for God. And I love he twice, a dwelling place for the mighty one of Jacob, the mighty one of Jacob. And God is the mighty one. He's the holy one. He's the anointed one. Jesus Christ is the mighty one of Jacob. And we desperately ourselves need him in our presence today, and need his blessings in not only in our hearts and in our lives, but also in our churches, where people just know God is in the midst of his people. God is at work in their lives. They pray, they get their prayers answered. God reveals his glory as he deals with our issues and our problems, as he gives us peace, as he gives us grace, as he gives us mercy and help in our time of need, as he rescues souls from drowning in the pit of sin and hell itself. And we march against the gates of hell, and they do not stand against us, because the presence of the Lord. Remember when the Ark of the Covenant went across the Jordan River, the people and the priests took the Ark of the Covenant. As soon as they stepped in the waters rode back, and as they stepped further into the middle, the waters continued to roll back, and the people walked across on dry land. My friend, when the presence of God is in our lives, the enemy rose back. We have the banner of the cross and on our side, and we have God on our side. And if God be for us, who can be against us? These powerful verses here, just reminding again, God, this is a promise David made, and then we see the people singing and rejoicing, and then we find the psalmist again reminding God of his covenant, and then God speaks. So let's read at least these first 5 verses. Lord, remember David and all his affliction, how he swore to the Lord and vowed to the mighty one of Jacob. Surely I will not go into the chamber of my house, or go up to the comfort of my bed. I will not give sleep to my eyes, or slumber to my eyelids, until I find a place for the Lord, a dwelling place for the mighty one of Jacob. Yes, the importance of knowing that God is in our lives. Our bodies today are the temple of the Holy Spirit. Our bodies literally are the temple of God himself. If we are believers and we've trusted Jesus Christ, we find a dwelling place in our hearts for the mighty one of Jacob to be with us, to meet our needs. We worship him even today in this way. Well, God bless you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.